So I want to. This is the overview I want you to pay attention to. So when we talk about 8849, Form 8849, of course we're speaking about a claim for a refund of excise taxes. So this is particularly related to some niche sectors here, and I want to show you how the form looks like. So basically, you have. So this is the first part you can see on the screen here, the first screenshot. So you have the name of the claimant. Make sure that all the information that you have here is pretty consistent with all the information that you file on other tax forms. So I'm speaking about your social security number, the EIN. So there are cases where whether you have a parent company or a parent or a subsidiary company, the information that you have at the EIN level must match. Otherwise, your Form 8849 will be delayed. The processing of that form will be delayed. And one thing I want you to really understand also is that when we talk about if you are referring to a foreign entity, you want to make sure that the information also match. This is really critical. So that's the first screenshot. The second screenshot I want you to really pay attention to here is actually relates to the schedules attached. You can see on the screen here. So we have Schedule 1, non-taxable use of fuels. Schedule 2, sales by registered ultimate vendors. Schedule 3, we have certain fuel mixtures and the alternative fuel credit, the AFC. Schedule 5, Section 4081E claims. This is actually particularly related to certain industries. Again, if you have questions about those schedules, let us know in the comment section, and one of our team members will get back to you. And then you have Schedule 6, other claims, and Schedule 8, registered credit card issuers. So again, we are speaking about excise taxes. So you have several industries that relate to this particular legislation piece, if you will. And I want to show you the third option, the third screenshot here. We are speaking about the number. So in terms of the use table, it really depends upon what use table you want to specify. So you have from number 1 all the way to 16. So depending on the industry that you're in. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. You are going to enjoy today's conversation. So when we talk about the Form 8849 claim for a refund of excise taxes, we are speaking about a specific industry. I've said this before, right? This is basically a document. The form is a document issued by the IRS to actually help you if you are subject to excise taxes to claim a refund. And so the form allows taxpayers to request a refund or credit for various types of excise taxes paid on fuels such as gas, diesel fuel, kerosene, and alternative fuels. But there are a lot of industries that really where excise tax must be applicable, such as if you're selling military aircrafts, if you're in the credit card industry, if you're doing fuels, if you're doing all kinds of stuff. Okay, so what's the purpose of this Form 8849? Let's really dig a little deeper so we have a clear idea. So some common reasons for filing Form 8849 include fuel used in non-taxable situations, fuels used in government or exempt purposes, and alternative fuel credits, so the AFC. Let me really elaborate on that. So fuel used in non-taxable situations. So if you use taxed fuel in a non-taxable manner, such as for farming purposes, off-highway business use, or for certain types of machinery or equipment, you can claim a refund for the excise taxes paid on that fuel. Totally possible. You also have fuels used in government or exempt purposes. So certain government entities or exempt organizations can claim refunds for the excise taxes paid on fuels used for their operations. And again, you just want to make sure that whatever you file at the federal level, it has to be in sync with whatever you have to file at the state level. And fuels used for exports. So if you exported taxed fuel or used it in an international aviation operation or shipping operation for that matter, you may be eligible for a refund of the excise taxes paid on those fuels. And also when you have the AFC, so Form 8849 allows you to claim credits for using certain types of alternative fuels such as biodiesel, ethanol, or compressed natural gas. And so it's really important to note that Form 8849 has various schedules that I just showed you a little earlier. schedules, and sections, each corresponding to a specific type of refund or credit. So depending on the specific circumstances that you have, you may need to complete different sections of the form to claim the appropriate refund or credit. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about Form 8849. Let's talk about the benefits you can expect if you go with Form 8849 and you have a constellation of benefits, okay? You have, for instance, a refund of overpaid taxes, correction of errors. Let's say you filed your previous C corporation return, your Form 1120 or 1120S. There's an error on that. You are able to correct errors. You have a reduction of tax liability, compliance with tax regulations, and the potential for future tax planning. Let's dig a little deeper here. So when we talk about refund of overpaid taxes, this is the primary objective of this form. Okay, so if you have overpaid excise taxes, either due to an error or a change in circumstances at your business level, Form 8849 allows you to claim a refund for the excess amount. And this can help you recoup the money you paid unnecessarily. So that's the first one. Now, correction of errors. Now, if you made a mistake in paying excise taxes, such as, let's say, paying for the wrong type of tax or miscalculating the amount, Form 8849 enables you to correct those errors and request a refund. And you are also able to use this form to rectify any inadvertent errors in tax payments. You also have the possibility of reduction of tax liability. So Form 8849 can also be used to claim credits or exemptions that may reduce your overall excise tax liability. So by properly documenting eligible claims, you can lower the amount of excise tax you owe, resulting in cost savings for your business. And in terms of compliance with tax regulations, filing Form 8849 ensures that you are in compliance with the IRS regulations regarding excise taxes. I mean, again, we are speaking about a very specific niche sector here when it comes to the tax laws. And so by promptly submitting the form to claim refunds, or let's say to correct errors, you can demonstrate your commitment to fulfilling your tax obligations accurately and in a timely manner. And in terms of the potential for future tax planning, this is kind of important also. By carefully reviewing the excise taxes you have paid already, and also, let's say, analyzing the reasons for overpayments or errors, you can identify patterns or areas for improvements in your tax planning processes. And this can help you minimize the future mistakes and optimize your tax strategies down the road. And this is what you want anyway. You want to be in a situation where you're constantly optimizing your tax situation no matter what. I want to talk to you quickly about eligibility here. So when we talk about Form 8849, again, we are speaking about excise taxes, and you have a specific type of business that could qualify for this Form 8849. So you have businesses, you have trucking and transportation companies, so including owner-operators, you have fuel producers and blenders, and you have certain nonprofit organizations. Obviously, the list I'm giving you here is not exhaustive. You can have other entities that could qualify for a Form 8849. But again, if you have any question, let us know in the comment section, and our team member can go a little granular on your specific situation and explain things further for you. So let me first detail what I just said. Let me elaborate on the 4 categories that I just listed. So for businesses, so any business entity, including corporations, partnerships, limited liability companies, sole proprietorships, and other types of businesses can actually file Form 8849 if they have paid excise taxes in excess or by mistake. And also trucking and transportation companies, including owner-operators. So businesses involved in the trucking and transportation industry in general. So I'm speaking about cargo van, step van. You have all pickup truck, all kinds of businesses. Those entities may file Form 8849 to claim refunds for certain excise taxes related to fuel used in qualified vehicles, such as heavy trucks and buses, and in some cases, you might have cargo vans. You also have a third category. You have fuel producers and blenders. So companies engaged in the production, blending, or sale of various types of fuels, including gas. You have gasoline, diesel, and alternative fuels. They may file Form 8849 to claim refunds for excise taxes paid on those fuels. And you also have certain nonprofit organizations. So qualified nonprofit organizations such as schools, colleges, universities, and college and government entities rather may be eligible to file this Form 8849 to claim refunds for certain excise taxes paid on fuels used for their exempt purposes. By the way, boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about how to actually fill out Form 8849. To follow here, when we talk about Form 8849, how do you actually fill out? How do you fill this form? The first thing you want to do here is you want to gather necessary information. Okay, I'm talking about all the relevant data that you need for this form. So we're speaking about your taxpayer identification number, your EIN, or your social, your tax period, and details of the tax you are claiming a refund or credit for. You saw a little earlier when I showed you the steps you need to follow. And then you need to download the Form 8849. Unfortunately, right now you cannot file this form electronically. Even if you wanted it, you can't really do it. So you have to do it manually. So go to the IRS website to have the latest version of the form. Do not actually rely on a third party to provide you with some kind of information, because the last thing you want is to have an IRS audit because you actually used the wrong year for the form. So go to the IRS website and you can download everything there. If you have any question, just contact the agency. And you want to provide general information as well. So we're talking here about your name, first name, last name, and other general identifying information. It's all about you providing as much detail to the IRS so that they can actually cross-check your data with other data they currently have. And you need to determine the schedules to include. I've shown you a couple of schedules, right? From Schedule 1, non-taxable use of fuels, to Schedule 6, other claims. It's all about what really applies to your situation. And so you want to complete the selected schedules. It's all about transparency here. So make sure that whatever you complete, you are as detailed and thorough as possible. And so you want to calculate the refund or credit amount that you want the IRS to apply to your account. I mean, it's just a lot easier if you have already done the calculation. Of course, the IRS is going to calculate whatever you submit to the agency anyway, just to make sure that you are on the right path here. But you want to do the first step. And you also want to attach supporting documentation. So anything you submit to the agency, you have to attach supporting documentation. So we're speaking about any necessary supporting documentation. This can be invoices, receipts, or other relevant documents that basically substantiate your claim. And so ensure you sign and date the form in the designated spaces. And unsigned forms may not be accepted by the IRS. This is something they really pay attention to. And you may want to make a copy for your records and submit the form. I want to talk to you about some special considerations when filing this Form 8849. And it's one of those things where you want to be as accurate and thorough as possible, but you have to be aware of those special considerations. So first of all, the eligibility. So I'll talk to you a little bit about eligibility, time limits, the correct form, the supporting documentation, the identification numbers, the filing method, Schedule 6, which is kind of critical, the review that you have to really apply to your form before filing, and the way you need to contact the IRS, okay? So when we talk about eligibility, Form 8849 is actually used to claim a refund for certain excise taxes. I've already explained that to you. And so really you want to ensure that you are eligible to claim a refund for the specific tax you are seeking a refund for. Do not waste your time nor the IRS's times, okay? And time limits, there are specific time limits for filing Form 8849. So what happens here is that generally the form must be filed within the latter of either 3 years from the date the tax was paid, or 2 years from the date the tax was reported on a quarterly or annual return. Make sure you file within the prescribed time limits. And when we talk about having the correct form, this is really important. If you have any doubts, please let us know in the comment section. We'll get back to you. Or you can consult with a tax professional to obtain the most recent version. And in terms of the supporting documentation, I'm talking about things that can really help you substantiate your claim, mileage records, for instance, any other relevant documents, invoices, receipts, so on and so forth. Make sure you have the necessary documentation ready before filing. In terms of identification number, make sure that you have the proper EIN, or you actually incorporate your indicate, if you will, your social security number. And the filing method, you need to determine the appropriate method of filing Form 8849 based on your circumstances. You can file electronically using the IRS e-file system or file a paper return by mail. So note that certain types of claims may require electronic filing. And in terms of a Schedule 6, this is actually relates to other claims. So here you want to provide accurate and detailed information on this schedule, including the type of tax, the amount claimed, and any supporting details. And this is pretty straightforward. So once you've done everything, you are ready to file the form. You can contact the IRS if need be. Let's talk about filing deadlines and extensions on this form. So basically, you have the Form 8849 must be filed by the last day of the quarter following the quarter in which the tax liability arose. So the quarters and their corresponding filing deadlines are as follows. So we have quarter 1, January through March 31st. So the deadline here is April 30th. Quarter 2, you have April 1st and June 30th. So April 1st to June 30th. The deadline here is July 31st. So basically, it's always the end of the month following the end of the quarter. So quarter 3, you have July 1st through September 30th. The deadline here is October 31st. And quarter 4, you have October 1st to December 31st. And the deadline is January 31st of the following year. And so in terms of extension, well, by default, there is no extension available for filing Form 8849. It must be filed by the respective deadline mentioned a little earlier. Now, there are certain exceptions for certain excise taxes. For example, let's say you are claiming a refund for the gasoline or diesel fuel used on a farm for farming purposes. You may be eligible for an extension. And the extension deadline is 6 months after the regular due date. So be aware of that. And now there are some common mistakes I want you to avoid when it comes to filing Form 8849. So having an incorrect or outdated form version, do not really fall for that trap. Is a trap. And you also have the incorrect taxpayer identification number. You want to double check everything's from your Social Security all the way to your EIN. Filing the wrong form, do not do that. Incomplete or missing information, make sure everything is clear, everything is thorough, everything is complete. And make sure that you have a correct calculation. So incorrect calculations are another type of mistakes you need to avoid really thoroughly. Missing supporting documentation. So whatever you claim when it comes to Form 8849, make sure that you can back it up. And also late filing. So you want to file as soon as possible. I told you a little earlier about the deadline. So filing late can result in penalties and interest charges. And it may also affect the processing time of your claim. And there is also a failure to sign the form. So you want to sign and date the form where indicated. Unsigned forms will not be processed by the IRS. So if filing electronically, follow the instructions for electronic signatures. And also using illegible or incorrect information. Make sure things are really clear, that things are legible, and not keeping a copy of the form also could be a mistake for you. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. So let me do a quick recap here. So in today's conversation, I was just talking to you about Form 8849. So I gave you the overview, and finally, I gave you the recap. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.